So today we're going to talk about leads, pipeline, analytics, and collaboration. And then we are going to leave time for questions at the end. So let's dive right in with some terminology. So Salesforce has some very specific terminology, and you should get comfortable with what Salesforce calls their tools and their objects, because it gets confusing when you start talking about it. And one of the most important things in an implementation is to be on the same page. Now, once you acquire Salesforce, and many of you that have it already know that you can rename things, you can move things around, and you can make it your own. That's great. As you're getting started, though, you're going to have to translate between what they call a lead and what you call a lead. And that's one important part, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. So let's all start off on the same page. So a lead in Salesforce terminology is a table, an object, a holding area in the system, and it's also what we call the person that is an early stage sale. So in Salesforce terminology, a lead comes into the system and is in kind of a holding pond. Okay, so typically these are large numbers. We acquire lists from services. We visit trade shows and load people in by scanning them. We buy lists from the show. We take in leads from our website. We may have marketing automation, which I would highly recommend. And so we've got leads coming in from every source, mail campaigns. These all go into a big holding area, and then we need to do something with them. So that's what Salesforce talks about when they call a lead. And then prospect, not necessarily a Salesforce term, but what I like to evolve a lead from is into a prospect. So prospects are the next level of lead. We've qualified them in some fashion. We've verified that they are indeed real. So they have a valid email address. They have a valid phone number maybe. And we've at least done that level of classification. Next, we go into customer. And a customer is the next level of the prospect. So they are qualified. They've purchased something, typically. Now, again, you can treat this in many different ways, so I won't get into that. But kind of the best practice is to call them a customer once they've purchased. Opportunity is how Salesforce tracks the sales. So Salesforce calls an opportunity a potential sale is an opportunity, and then the closed sale is still an opportunity. It's just in a different step. It also has quoting and other things that we are not going to be able to dive into this afternoon. But right now we're going to focus on opportunity. Okay, the pipeline. The pipeline is simply what Salesforce calls the collection of the opportunities. So as we'll see later on, the opportunities are broken into different stages and different time frames, different amounts, and all of that collectively is referred to as pipeline. Now this is where people get confused the most, because they like to talk about forecast, sales funnel, quota. That's the one place that I think that this process falls down, is where we don't define what we mean when we say pipeline and quota and forecast. And that's a really important point. Again, we'll get to that later. Or we'll show that again later. Okay, analytics are basically the reports and dashboards that are built into Salesforce. Pretty powerful system on Salesforce for analytics, but like with everything, could be better, could go deeper. The great thing about Salesforce is there's tons of analytic add-ons that you can do. And of course, the data is yours to own, and you can do whatever you wish with it, but there are some good tools built in. I think the big one and the hot topic here is collaboration. Especially in the sales area, we have a really big problem with sales people needing to sell. What a concept. So they don't want to type things into a CRM system for trackability, which sales management and upper management really need. But at the same time, they need the tools to tell them what to do next, who's doing what, and how to find the right resources at the right time. Content, white papers, subject matter experts, all that kind of thing. Collaboration is a big deal. I know most of you on the call here are getting inundated with email, and the Salesforce collaboration tools are aimed to solve. Okay, so don't hesitate to comment on the pace or any other issues of the presentation. Brian will help follow us along, and we want to make sure that we leave enough time for questions, but we also want to make sure we cover this stuff. So let's dive right into leads. And here's basically the whole story with leads when it comes to Salesforce. So we've got acquisition, routing and scoring, and conversion. And we're going to give you some best practices as far as these 3 high points go. So number 1, acquisition. Excuse me. In Salesforce, it's super important to acquire as much as you can. We live in the world of big data. We live in the world where customers are starting to expect that you know them and you know what they want. I'm not talking about advertising, but I am talking about putting them in the right place at the right time. I mean, when I come into a company and I request some collateral or I'm interested in buying their product, I don't want an email back about anything other than acquiring the product. I don't want to be marketed to in the wrong way. I want them to know where I'm at and what I expect. And so that's part of acquisition, is just acquiring everything. So when they hit the website, we want to pull them in. We want to know that they read the white paper. We want to know that they viewed a video. We want to know that they have questions on the licensing process or whatever it could be. So we want to capture them. And then we want to tie in some type of marketing integration so we can know what they're interested in, what their questions are, what their challenges are. And we'll get into a little bit of that. Today is not a conversation about marketing, integration, and automation, but that is definitely one of the top funnel activities as a sales best practice that you should address. The next is campaign. So we've got a tool in Salesforce that can do mail campaigns and direct campaigns and track all of that. Again, to do it really, really well, you want to do some kind of marketing integration, but there are some basic tools here for you to use. And overall, what we're trying to focus on is gathering that information. We want to make sure that the very first time you interact with us, we know who you are. The next time you interact with us, we build more data. And the next time you interact with us, we build more. And then when we finally talk to you, we know exactly where to put you and how to address your challenges and your purchasing requirements. So that takes us to routing and scoring. So we've gathered all of this data on our prospect, our lead, and then becoming a prospect. And now we're going to score it. There's a lot of systems out there that do this work for us. So you can purchase additional modules such as Pardot and Exact Target and Eloqua and HubSpot and all of those. Or you can build your own, which I put together a quick screen to show you next how you can build your own scorecard. And I also have an example of a really great product called HubSpot that helps do that as well. So you've got this information, and then you just decide, what am I going to focus on to score these leads and prospects? We're going to show that. And then the next thing is queues and workflow. So once we've scored them, now they're ready to move either to a higher level of marketing qualification or the first level of sales qualification. This is something within your industry and your business you're going to have to decide and define. And a good Salesforce consultant is going to help focus on this and is going to work you through that process. But this is really a critical stage to where you've got this big bucket of people, 30, 40, 100,000 leads, and what are you going to do with them? You can't possibly call everyone. You can't possibly get a room of interns and email all of them and make it meaningful. So the next logical thing to do is to score them. And then once you score them, you're going to route them based on geography, product line, vertical, whatever it is that is meaningful to you. And then you're going to get them in the right place at the right time, and then they're going to become a customer. Finally, there's going to be conversion, and we're going to show you that. We're going to walk you through the whole process. So conversion is where they become a customer. Okay. So here's a really basic lead screen. And what we've got here is a lead has come in from the website, or we've acquired them somehow and put them into the system. And then we filled out some basic information. So this one's pretty light on information, which unfortunately is going to be typical. So one of the best practices here is you've got to have a high-level screener to work on your lead. So when the lead comes in, this could be someone just viewing your web page, this could be someone from a show, or it could be someone with money in hand ready to buy. So you have to treat them all with some sense of urgency, and then you have to get them scored into the right place. So again, we route based on geography, so we don't have an address on this one, but if we did, we could let the system route based on the address. We could have the system route based on a field that we put in here that says ready to buy, buying in 6 months, buying in a year. And we can do all of that with the basic Salesforce functionality that we built, which is all included. It's all custom fields and workflow and validation rules that are very easy for your typical user and admin to put together. Down here at the bottom, and I apologize, I don't have a pointer. Oh, do I? Down here at the bottom, we have a HubSpot intelligence. Now, this is an add-on product to Salesforce. Highly recommended that you do something like this. They provide a lot of functionality that you don't have to put together and maintain yourself. But as I said, you definitely could. What this is telling us is this person hit the website and looked at a verification video and on YouTube, and then here they viewed the verification white paper. I blocked it out because this is real information. I didn't want to protect the names for the innocent here. But they viewed a video, and then they viewed a SlideShare slide on the same topic. So this person's very interested in the verification product that we've got, and we can move them right along through the process to that group. Okay, so now that we've verified and scored this person, again, the best practice is to have marketing do as much of this information as possible, because typically what we see in the field is marketing does a great job of acquiring these leads and qualifying them to a certain threshold to where we know that they are real potential customers. But that's kind of where the marketing department tends to stop. And that has not been enough in the industries that I work with, because what happens is they do such a good job that they're generating thousands and thousands of leads. They're qualified, maybe not highly qualified, but they are qualified, they are verifiable, but the sales staff just can't get through that. So we've got to do a little bit better job and get to reasonable numbers that our sales staff can handle. and scoring and routing is one good way to do that. Now, as marketers, no one wants to leave money on the table. No one wants to say, we're going to put these lesser importance on these other people. But to be real, you really need to do that. Okay. So let's show you the lead conversion here. So the lead conversion process is where, in Salesforce, what they say a conversion is when a lead becomes an account, a contact, and an opportunity. This is a very controversial area. Not everyone treats this the same way, and you don't have to. It is important to understand that this process needs to be owned by you. You need to define what this means at conversion and at what point do you convert. So a lot of our clients tend to do the the lead qualification, marketing qualification, and then when they hand it off to sales, there's an opportunity that has been identified. So we know that they're a viable customer. We know that they want to buy, and then we also have a good idea of what they're going to buy, how much, and when. And that's a really solid place to hand it off to sales. I mean, what sales organization would not be thrilled with having a lead that's ready to buy? We know what they want. We know when they're going to buy it. All we have to do is work on the classic dance stuff and figure out, do they have budget and who's the decision maker and things like that. Okay, so that's conversion. You have to decide what point this happens, but that's what happens at conversion. It creates an account, which is the company record, and then it creates a contact if the account doesn't exist. It creates a contact, which is the person, the lead, becomes a contact, and then the opportunity, which is the tracking the sale record. So conversion. Okay, this is what the conversion looks like in Salesforce, okay? So again, we've got the opportunity to throw it over the fence to sales, or we can keep it in marketing. That's the record owner. That assignment happens here at conversion. And I lost my pointer. And then the account name that exists, we tie it to a current account, and if it doesn't, then we create a new one. And same for the opportunity, and then we can we can create a follow-up task to remind us or remind the person that we handed it off to, hey, I've converted this for you, it's in your queue, it's ready for you to do something. And please take action, and then you can also do a reminder for that. Okay. I don't see any questions pouring in. Are we?
We just got one real fast. I don't know if it's different in different versions of Salesforce, but it appears that this person seems to think that they don't have a lead tab in their version. Everything appears to start off as a contact.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, there are leads in every version. You can see my menu up here. Again, I wish I had a pointer, but my mouse just disappeared. But up here in the upper right-hand corner, I'm on the Leads tab in this particular view. If you don't have that, then simply go to the plus sign, which I've grayed out, but it's at I'm pointing at my screen if you can see. It's at the top on the same bar at the very right-hand end. There's a plus sign, and that takes you to the rest of the modules that your administrator chose not to show on your screen.
And so a follow-up real fast, Brian, where do you populate leads?
Mm-hmm.
There's no button for this. Where will I be able to find it?
Yeah, you always go to the plus sign to see more. Also, if you see in the upper right-hand corner, the very right-hand corner, you can see the help and training, and then it says sales. So on the sales, that's what they call the application switcher, and those are basically groups of different tabs. So try switching that to maybe get to a different department or a different application view, And then if that doesn't work, then go to your plus sign. Okay, so like I was saying, the lead conversion happens when a lead has been contacted, verified, qualified. You get to decide what point in time that is, and it's really an important distinction. So make sure that you are spending some time with your consultant and your staff to really get on the same page and understand what that means, how that happens, and the handoff is very, very clean. Okay, so let's dive right into the pipeline, and I'm sure this is kind of the meat for everyone. So let's start you off with my top 5 tips. Again, capture and store everything. I really can't emphasize that enough. Salesforce is a big system. It's not going to hurt you to store the data. You'll be surprised what happens later when you start connecting the dots. Integrate the pipeline between marketing and sales. Again, huge, huge, huge. I cannot tell you, well, matter of fact, it'd be easier for me to tell you the companies that I go into as a consultant, and marketing and sales is happily handing things back and forth, and they know what they're doing, and everything's flowing smooth. Actually, that number is pretty much 0. Everyone has the right idea, but they just don't implement well when it comes to getting the marketing and sales teams to communicate and to hand off cleanly. Typically it's like, hey, marketing sees their job as I generate tons of traffic and I send it to you. Do something with it. And sales says, well, these people aren't good. There are too many, and so I'm going to focus on the 3 that I know. And so you're leaving this huge pool of potential business out in the cold. So it's really important that you integrate that pipeline and then have it flow between marketing and sales. And good help can get you there really quickly. Score your leads and opportunities, right? Huge, right? I mean, you've got this major database. You've got all these people in there. Some of them are dead or in jail, and the other ones are ready to buy. So you've just got to score them and route them correctly. Use the automation to get them in front of the right person. That's key as well, and the system can help you do that. Now that is kind of a point in the systems there, and this question probably will come up, so I'll address it right now. On number 4, the routing and automation. For those of you that are on the group edition and the professional edition, which are very, very attractive and affordable options for the Salesforce CRM, unfortunately, those 2 versions don't have the workflow and routing automation built in. So to get that, you will have to go to the enterprise or better edition. Simple and reliable system, make sure everyone uses it. That's very understated. Again, people tend to want to complicate things. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with a system like Salesforce. You can build virtually anything you want. You can make it look any way you want. And it's very tempting, even as an experienced consultant, it's very tempting for me to go in and say, wow, we can tie this to this, and if this happens, we can make this happen, and we can do all this stuff. At the end of the day, as salespeople, sales folks know, it comes down to people, and the systems are the same way. If your people can't understand the system, and if your sales rep's on the road and trying to close a sale, and they can't find the right contact or log the right call or pull up the right opportunity at the right time, then it's just not useful. And they're going to go back to email and Excel, and your life is not going to be very cool. Okay. So pipeline management. Number 1 best practice, I think, getting into the pipeline is the stages. The stages and the probability. Now, probability not so much for everyone, but I think as you get into more detailed sales management, it's going to be important because you're going to want to know how this fits with the forecast, how this fits with your monthly quota, your quarterly quota. So probability is an important gauge of what we think is going to happen. And then, of course, using analytics, we're going to go back and compare that. So stages are your sales process. So how does the sales process flow? We've got an introduction. We've got we know we can't do anything without that initial meeting. Maybe we're a face-to-face selling organization. Maybe we've got a complicated product that requires a demo. And then maybe we do a proof of concept. So those are some typical stages that you might see. So you have, new initial, you have meeting set, you have demo, then you have POC, and then maybe professional services engagement and close the deal. Whatever your stages are, whatever your life cycle is of your sale, it needs to be all-inclusive and in stages in Salesforce. Now, again, with Enterprise Edition and above, you can have different sales stages and different sales processes for different groups, different products, different whatever. In Professional, you're going to have, and below, you're going to have one set process. And so you'll just have to ignore those stages that don't make sense or change your process around or get the different edition. But really important to do stages. Okay. Document and socialize the process. Again, you've done all this work to create a very bulletproof system. You follow these best practices. The system's simple, easy to understand, houses all the data. Everything has a place. Now go tell your people about it. And you'd be amazed what doesn't make sense to some people. Simple naming conventions have cost me months of time and effort. I think we're saying the same thing. I'm saying lead, I'm saying pipeline, I'm saying opportunity, and they're thinking something completely different. And it just can really derail your process. So again, evangelize your terminology, make it very clear where the handoffs are, make it very clear when to enter something, when to update something, when to output something. Evangelize that process, train the folks. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it doesn't take a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time. It has to happen over several weeks and several months. You'd be amazed at the really brilliant people that take quite a bit of time to get that done. Okay, scoring each opportunity. This is back to the lead. It's the same process, just different questions. So when we look at the lead screen next, we're going to show you some fields that we've set up to capture this information. Basically, this is the typical sales cycle, right? So have you identified the executive, sponsor, the buyer? What's the budget? When is the budget available? Do we need to act to not lose the budget? Those kinds of questions. What's driving this stuff? So in the modern world, we like to go a little bit deeper than advanced, and I forget what that means now. Budget, time, but we like to go a little bit more consultative, and we like to say, well, what are some of your obstacles to not purchasing this product? Or what are some of your obstacles to purchasing this product? And what are some of your challenges if you don't purchase this product? And we really want to understand what they're trying to do and help them with evaluation and justification a little bit too. We put all that in, that gets you a better score. So just off this one screen, using the tools built into Salesforce, we can route based on certain criteria. So, if this is in the Western region, we're going to send it to Brian. And if it's in the Eastern region, we're going to send it to Jill. And if it's a sale over $100,000, we're going to send it to the manager, and if they need professional services, then we're going to alert the services department and get them on board right away, and then we're going to score it. So are we forced to offer a discount on this opportunity? What's the amount? Are there professional services on top of it? Are they closing this quarter, next quarter? What are we going to focus on? How are we going to balance our score? Okay, so now we've acquired everything, we've scored and routed everything. Now the next thing we need to do is follow up. So again, we should publish those scores. So I come up with a pipeline scorecard, and I make a dashboard out of it. And I'll show you some dashboards later on. But it's important to publish that, so do east versus west and different groups against different groups, so they can see how they're rating. Also, like to talk about the Monday morning meeting. Again, everyone hates the Monday morning meeting, and I think Monday is the worst day to do it. But my recommendation to folks is, switch the day, but still do it. I understand wasting sales people and rep time because they're not out selling. That's very important that they are out selling. But we do need to know what are the top opportunities you're working on, and make it agile. What's working? What's not working? What do you need help with? Have that quick meeting, and then, of course, do the one-on-ones. It's important to follow up on it. And, there we go. So there's the pipeline. That's an example of what a stock report out of Salesforce could look like. This is categorized by owner. You can do it any different way you want. All right, I'm going to pick up the pace so we can get through the collaboration here. So more of the analytics, okay? So we've got a basic pipeline here. Yeah, the basic pipeline here. Not much going on there. We've got leads by rep, open activities. These are dashboards in Salesforce that drill down into reports. So what you do is you come up with the activity that you want to see and the metric that you want to gauge, and you build a report for it. And then those reports can be represented by graphs. So in this case here, in the win-loss ratio, we just simply pick a time frame. We pick the two things that we want out of the report. The report can have 50 elements to it, but we only care about the total number of won and lost opportunities. So that's what we tell the dashboard. We say, just pull out the won and lost, give me the count over whatever period of time, and show that to me in a graph so I don't have to dig through the report. And then one of the features of Salesforce is if you click on that graph, that image, it will actually drive you down to the report and show you the detailed data. So these are some of the examples of the dashboards that you can have. You've got a bar graph, you've got the classic gauge, you've got line graph, and then a table, and then the sales funnel, which shows you where you're at with each stage. All right. Going back to reporting, we've got some of the basic reports that I'd recommend that you focus on. Excuse me. Daily and weekly. Of course, this goes without saying. Most people live by these. But we've got the current quarter pipeline. So that can be focused down to the rep level, or you can look at it as a team or as a company, depending on where you sit. And that's obviously the important one that you're all striving for. And then you've got stage history, which shows how did this sale progress. Some sales go right from inception to close. I'm ready to buy. Some go through all the stages. Some are stuck forever. You know, if you do proof of concepts, chances are pretty good your sales cycle is long, and you're going to have a lot of opportunities in the POC stage. So again, we want to run a report and manage that, what we call managed by exception. So we want to just look at the opportunities that are stuck in the opportunity or in the POC stage, as an example, and we want to say, okay, hey, someone needs to do something about this. Let's put some resources here and get this one moving, or or close it out, whatever you decide to do. Next one is the logged activities. I'll just speak real briefly about that. None of us like to log our activities, but for most sales cycles, it is pretty important. Customers like to be followed up with, and Salesforce makes it really easy, especially with the mobile product and all the other options for within email systems, Outlook, Google. Make it really easy to interact with your customers and clients and log it to Salesforce effortlessly. So when you go to look at that contact, that customer, that lead, I've called them on Tuesday, I emailed them, they visited us, and we did a demo, and activities are pretty important. That's what the reports screen looks like. Okay, I'm going to blaze through these and get to collaboration for our last time. So Salesforce has very powerful analytics. These are some of the questions that you could answer and you should think about ahead of time. One of my key goals coming into an engagement where folks are lost in their data is to ask them, well, what are your metrics? What's important to close a sale? And surprisingly enough, they cannot articulate it down to the level that needs to be articulated to. So we try to get them into some of these questions. Which stages require the most resources? What products are selling best? That's standard stuff. But which stage requires the most client contact? So if you start logging your activities, the system then can match up the sales cycle to the activity level, and then you can start to see, well, these customers in this industry are very high touch and low value, or these are very high value and high touch. So you can decide, well, do we want to go after more of these? Do we want to spend more time over here? These are some of the advanced questions that you can ask using your CRM. I love this one because I always like to evaluate the scorecards. Number 2 here, does a high scorecard total indicate the sale will be won? Do we have it right? We came up with a scorecard that we think is good. Is it reflective of sales that are closing? I don't know. The system can tell you. All right, let's dive into collaboration, and then we're going to take some questions. So managing territories and rep changes is something that we all have to deal with as a sales organization, whether you're a rep or whether you're in sales management. It's just a function of how the world works and the shifting needs and requirements and management choice, obviously. So that's probably the hardest thing to manage in any typical system. And collaboration in Salesforce really helps solve that problem because we've got the activities log, we've got all the contextual information by client, by customer, by prospect, by lead, by sale, opportunity. So we can easily hand off things between individuals, reps, and managers, and it's really a powerful tool. Expert Finder. So again, Salesforce.com as a company does. This is kind of why the main reason why Chatter, one of their collaboration products, Chatter, was invented, was so they could, number 1, reduce the email, but number 2, they were having a problem finding experts. So we need a sales engineer who has done health insurance in Utah and has this very specific knowledge. And what they would do is they would send out email to 20, 30, 40 people at a time, and then guess what happened? 20, 30, 40 people would reply. And that's a lot of email. It's scattered. It's not tied to anything. We don't know how to find it again. And so we need to manage that conversation. Sharing knowledge, solutions. Also, part of the collaboration, I mean, the obvious collaboration is the communication tools and the chatter. But collaboration is bigger than social media and connected tools. Just simply having the support system inside Salesforce also gives you great collaboration, because now you've got a correlation between the people you're selling to and the support issues they're having, or the questions that they're bringing to another department. This gives you really good visibility if you put everything into the one system. Diving right into Chatter, which is the main collaboration tool built into every version of Salesforce.com, we've got data feeds, which is really the big differentiator between Salesforce's Chatter tool and other tools like Yammer or SharePoint or even Facebook and things like that, Twitter. So basically, Chatter is one of those tools that is a social tool. And it also is tied to the system, which is a big, big deal. So as you're generating leads, as you're updating phone numbers, as you're changing stages, requesting help, posting content, creating white papers, the system is working in the background and publishing things on your behalf. So it might say, hey, Brian has just upgraded this opportunity from $10,000 to $20,000. And Brian has just posted a really great explanation of how to sell to this type of group. And that all happens automatically. So I don't have to do the work as a rep and then go back into the system and go, okay, I just did this. Hey, go check it out. The system can take care of that for you. It also ties, and I'm going to show you how this works, but it also ties things right to the opportunity. Okay. Let's get through and get to the questions. This is a screenshot, kind of gives you a dashboard, feed list. Here's a really good explanation of everything, the main highlights of what the Chatter tool can do. This is all tied to a certain opportunity. And so when I go and look at this opportunity, everything that's been said and done about this, whether it was a file attachment, a conversation, a quick poll, it's all tied right to that opportunity. So I don't have to dig through my email. I don't have to call anyone up. I mean, yeah, obviously you can. Those are useful, but it's all right here. All right. Sorry, I went a little bit over. Let's get into the Q&A. What do we have?
So the first question that we have is, I think it is in relation to reporting, but is there a specific time to engage a subject matter expert, and can you tie that into Salesforce? Or should that be tied into Salesforce?
Is there a specific, okay, so trying to understand this here. Is there a specific time to engage the subject matter expert? In relation to what? Help me out a little bit more.
So I think can you go back? I think it's back in, right there. Go one more after reporting. So.
Oh, one more. No.
Yeah, there you go. So I guess it's in relation to the collaboration and the SME Finder.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when to engage the subject matter.
Yeah, when to engage, and then how do you tie that into Salesforce?
Okay. So the classic example, and this is what Salesforce does as a company. So they took their sales engineers just as a group out of email, and they said, hey, we're killing these email groups. They had these huge groups of sales engineers across verticals and across geographies, and people just emailed stuff to that group. Hey, you guys need to know about this, and I'm looking for someone to help with this project. So that's now all in Chatter. So what you do is when you get to that stage of needing some help, whether it's whatever stage it's at, whether it's at the marketing level, the sales level, or even the professional service level, you go to that particular object. Let me see here. Like here, right. So here on this screen, you see the call for help in the middle. I opened up my opportunity. It's called Controls. This is for an industrial electronics company, and they're looking for something in solar power. Now I'm an industrial transformer sales rep, and so I'm not real keen on the solar aspect, but this particular opportunity has a solar aspect. So I've got to reach out and find a SME and help me out with this. So what I do is I go to that opportunity, I identify Bill, because I know Bill is likely to have this information. So what I did is I posted my question and I said ampersand or @ Bill. And now this goes out to everyone following this opportunity. It's also going to go directly to Bill and smack him over the head, whatever notification system he has set up. It's going to notify him directly and say, hey, Bill, someone's mentioning you, someone wants your attention, and he'll get that question along with everyone else who potentially should get that question. And then the other thing I did is I tagged it solar power company. So now everything we do under solar power, I can tag under solar power, and people interested in that topic can follow that topic. Does that help at all?
Yeah, I think that got it. There's one more question. Once again, if anyone wants any questions and answers, now is the time to type it in. The other question that came in, I think this relates to analytics and exporting, but how do you keep data entered in the system clean?
Yeah, that's a huge question. And I was a sales rep, so I can dig on us a little bit and say that, you know, we're very quick and efficient. So we like to type things in fast. We don't like to use the search very often, and dirty information and duplication is a big problem. So we do a couple things. When we train folks, we train them to use the search tool. I don't know if it's on that screen. No, it's not. But at the top of every Salesforce screen, there is a global search. So that's where I like to start all of my work, is there. Definitely before I enter in a new prospect or lead or company or whatever, I do a search. The other thing is, in Salesforce, if it's set up well, you're going to have validation rules, which are ways to make sure that you don't enter a phone number incorrectly. So if we've got a dialing system on the back end that dials our phone and answers our phone, we make sure that we put the country code in there. We can do that for you with a validation rule. We can make sure that that if this box is filled out, we make you type in another box, and you know, this one can only hold certain values. So we can validate things, and the system will enforce that as a storage before it's saved. Also, we've got back-end tools. So one of my favorite tools is Demand Tools from CRM Fusion. And that's a tool that is really powerful for loading information, cleaning up information. It can fix your addresses. It can fix all your names. It can deduplicate, and there's a lot of things that you can do to keep